Welcome to the first Photoshop tutorial that I'm going to be taking you through. There's a number of small tutorials to help enhance your skills. Now I'm fully aware that some of you might have Photoshop experience and be quite able to navigate around the program, and some of you might not have any at all. So if you are sort of switched on with it and you know this stuff, that's okay. You can skip through quite quickly, but hopefully I'll be able to still teach you a thing or two. If it's totally new, please take your time. Don't worry about anyone else, and go through it with me slowly, because you'll be better off in the long run. Now, I've previously been working with CS3, a couple of years old, but the school has finally got CS5 for us. So as we work through, there might be a few little hiccups, but it should be pretty smooth sailing as I teach you some things. Now, the first thing I want you to think about is just how to navigate around the program. In the middle, you're obviously going to always have your canvas, so you're going to have your images that you're working with, that you're touching up, that you're manipulating. And around the outside, I just want to take you through a couple of quick things. Now, first of all, usually you want to start with a new document. I've got some images open. With your document, you can choose from a number of different things. If you want to make it for film and video, so you're making some sort of screenshot, it will have all the different types there. If you would like to make it so it's getting printed, it's got all the different paper types there, so we can choose A4, A5, A3, and any others that are available to us. And as well as that, you can create your own custom sizes. The key bit here is the color mode and the resolution. When you're doing something for screen, I would like you to leave it on RGB color, so if it's just for the web. If it's going to be printed, you want to get it in CMYK, otherwise it's going to look different on your screen to how it ends up getting printed out. The resolution is probably the most important part. You will be able to see another short video which explains the difference between pixels and vector, and Photoshop runs on pixels, whereas Illustrator is a vector-based program. With the resolution, this refers to how many little tiny squares per inch. So there's 300 little squares per inch. That's a lot of little squares. When you stare at your monitor nice and closely, if you get really up close, you'll see those little squares. Or on plasmas, they're getting harder and harder to see though, as things are becoming more high definition and the pixels are becoming smaller. One big mistake that some people can make is sometimes having the resolution at 72 pixels per inch. When you have it at 72 pixels per inch, that's great for on the computer and on the screen because it doesn't need to be printed. But if you're printing something at that resolution, it will come out all blurry. Last year we had some students that made the mistake of doing them to the correct size they wanted for one of their projects, but their resolution was low and they had done so much work on their artwork that when it printed out it was all blurry and they had to do it all again. So that's probably the biggest key I can emphasize here, is making sure you've got the resolution right. If I said design some graphics for the screen, that's fine, do it at 72, but if you're doing anything that needs to be printed, you need to make it at 300 pixels per inch. You can choose your background color as well. Now, in saying that, if you did somewhere between 150 to 200, that would print okay and you probably wouldn't notice it, but if you're doing a professional printing job, you definitely do 300, and sometimes for photography they even jump to 600 when they're printing off high quality stuff on good quality paper. So type in a name, your Mr. Leyland's demo, and that will come up. Now, as you can see here, it's popped up on the top, and as I just show you some of the basics of the program, a lot of the stuff can be accessed via the top bar here, this navigation panel on the left, and then there's also a bunch of adjustments on the right hand side. So I'm going to go through all that stuff, but just in terms of what it should look like, it should always look like this. Along the top you can see I've brought in some different images which we'll have a play with, and I want you to notice that you can actually choose your zoom size, but a shortcut for that is Control plus Control minus, so you can see that coming up there. The same goes for just our zoom size. There's multiple different ways that we can do a number of things in Photoshop. So just like in Microsoft Word, if I asked you how do you copy something, some of you might say, well, you right click on the text and you press copy. You may press Control C, or you might go up and press edit, copy. There's a number of different ways in Photoshop to do all the same things as well. So some of you might know some different ways. And you might be even able to teach me some new ways of doing similar things. But that's the way it's designed, so that it's more comfortable and just easier to use. So there's multiple ways of doing different things. So at the top here, we've got all our different tabs and pictures. Depending on how you want to view them, you come up the top here. And another key thing, you can see there that it says arrange documents. On any of these pictures, if you can't work out what it is by the picture, you just need to hover over it for a second. So it's very informative in that if you don't know what it is, it'll kind of give you a little hint and help you along the way. Now up here, I can say that I just want to view sort of one in a separate tab, kind of like we do on the internet, or I could choose that I want to have two next to each other. So I can choose between these guys and move some of them over. I might want to, have three. They're obviously going to have to become a little bit smaller, and we've got this one here as well. And so you can go through and you can choose what do I want my format to look like, because sometimes we're going to be working with more than one picture. So that's pretty much the basics of just getting you started. What I'm going to do, notice how I'm going to move this texture into this picture here. I'm also going to move this photo into there, and I'm going to close these guys off. Rather than having heaps open, I'm just going to import them into the one document, mainly because we're working with the one document. If you're doing separate images and you wanted to work on them separately, you wouldn't import them into the one document, but it's going to help us as we move along. So I've put a number of pictures in there, and hopefully that'll be enough for us for our tutorial. So you can see now that with I've got them all over here as separate layers. So that's the first tutorial, just setting up a document, seeing how pictures are displayed and how to import them into your document, and you can move on to the next tutorial.